If I can change anything about my body, I'll have wings because I can fly to McDonald's. I would change my legs into mermaid tail so I can swim like a mermaid.
I would change my legs, like my thighs, make them a bit slimmer.
I thought labia were like fingernails, like they had no sensation. So I tried to cut them off with kitchen scissors when I was 12.
At what age do we stop wishing for magical things for our body and start wishing to change body parts that function perfectly well to fit society's idea of beauty?
We all look completely different, and we shouldn't feel shame because media or society has given us this idea of what we should look like.
What started off as a vulva gallery has turned into a global movement helping people open up communication with sexual health and sexual education.
I don't want to change anything.
I'm Ellie Sedgwick, and welcome to Comfortable in My Skin.
Welcome to what here at the Comfortable in My Skin community we call you the admin angel. That is because today's guest, Jasmin Carman, worked for Comfortable in My Skin for 2 years, sorting out the absolute tornado chaos that follows closely behind me in every aspect of my life. You did all the admin. And so everybody called you the admin angel.
Yes, I was a true angel.
You were. Everyone asks how you started working for me. And I always say, well, Jasmin came to a photo shoot. I was shooting her vulva and you left and you sent me feedback email. What I think I could have done better, which is so amazing, Jazz, because that's just how you are. You're so bloody organised and I'm not. And you wrote things like, at this stage of my photography, I wasn't charging for shooting. Yep. I didn't have any system in process. I was like, turn up, donate. Yep. And you were like, you could actually make this a career. And then I think when I was nannying, I called you. I was having a hard nanny day. And I called you and I said, I really want to take you up on that offer. I don't want to nanny anymore.
Yeah, we had a few chats, I think, about like helping like the Comfortable in My Skin brand out because you'd mentioned a number of times, I want to take it full time. I want to take it full time. And I was like, okay, well, let me know when you're ready. I'll help.
Yeah, it makes me, honestly, I feel like I'm going to cry because it's so beautiful. Like I had this goal and now I'm full-blown living it. You've come in, worked for 2 years, gone, and it's been a whole journey and you've been here through so much of it.
Yeah.
What I want you to tell the listeners at home is what have you learnt from me, from working for me?
Okay, we did have this chat a little bit ago, didn't we?
And I thought it was really cute and now I want the whole world to hear it.
Yeah, so when I was working for Ellie, as we all know, is very kind of fly by the seat of her pants and does everything on whim. And I'm a very structured, organized person. And initially I really struggled because I was like, no, this is not how we do things. But what it actually taught me was to actually have a really good balance. And there are some times that we do need to have things really organized, but then there are other times where it doesn't actually matter that much. And so Ellie, I would say, helped me chill out quite a bit.
Even in your social life,
Even in my social life and in a lot of other different ways as well. And I just, didn't like hold to, I guess, this high level of organization that I sort of normally occupied and ran my life by. But I kind of just chill out. And, you know, when it does come to doing events with Ellie or catching up with her or whatever, I'm like, yep, you just tell me what the plan is. I've left my schedule open, so I'm free whenever and however it's going to be. But it actually all works. And if you have been to one of Ellie's events, they all work. Maybe there's a little bit of manic behind the screen, but it all works and it's great fun. And that's actually all that matters at the end of the day.
Do you know what? There's a topless lunch. We're recording this podcast right now on a Friday in Newcastle and I have a topless lunch tomorrow that's sold out and I don't have a plan. Anyway, the main reason I wanted to get you onto this podcast was not to talk about how great working for me is, but I wanted you to talk about your vaginismus. So you were the first person that I'd heard talk about vaginismus, didn't know what it was until I met you. So I was thinking for the people listening at home, you could start from the very beginning and just imagine that nobody has any idea what it is.
Yeah. Such a great question. What is vaginismus? Because for myself, I didn't even know what vaginismus was and I had it. And so I a bit of backstory, which just adds a bit of context. But I'll explain firstly what vaginismus is. And vaginismus is an involuntary contraction of your vaginal canal. So if you're going to insert something, whether it's a tampon or you're having penetrative sex, your vaginal canal involuntarily, so you have no control over this, it will just contract and it will stop anything from being able to enter. And that's what happens because often you're experiencing pain. So maybe you're putting a tampon in and all of a sudden you're feeling a pain and then your body just involuntarily contracts. And that is what vaginismus refers to, the involuntary contraction.
Have you ever done one of those paint and sip nights with your girlfriends on a hen's party or a girls' night out? Sab is the artist and the owner of Paint and Sip with Sab, except it's not what you normally do at a paint and sip. Instead of painting beaches or a flower pot, you guys are going to be painting your very own sexy nudes. So this is how it works. You send Sab a sexy, spicy nude. You can wear lingerie or you can be naked. You just have to send her a photo that you feel comfortable with. So Sab will draw the outline of your silhouette and then she teaches you how to fill it in and bring your own artistic touch to your piece of artwork. Reminder that we know you're all different sizes, shapes, ages, and that's what we love. We love the diversity, and Sab is comfortable to guide you through this experience and helping you feel safe and comfortable in your skin. Sab lives on the Gold Coast, but she's about to go, like I did, on an Australian tour for 3 months. She's going to be living the van life and stopping in small towns all around Australia. So make sure you check to see if she's stopping in your cute little town. If you can't make it to any of her events, no worries. She also creates custom DIY kits, which she ships anywhere around Australia, filled with all the materials and instructions. So if you have a birthday, a retreat, a hen's party, or a girls' night coming up, and you want to make it a seamless and memorable experience, Sab's your girl. So go give her a follow on Instagram at Paint and Sip with Sab, or just jump into our show notes to find more information on where she's going to be next.
So I was laying in bed this morning with my friend's ex-husband.
What a statement.
It's not how it sounds. It was just a catch-up talk, and I was telling him I was interviewing you today.
Okay.
And he was trying to understand, does it only happen because something's happened to your body?
No.
In that, yeah.
No, it doesn't. There is a few reasons why vaginismus occurs. And one is from trauma that occurs to the body. But the other thing is we might psychologically anticipate pain for a tampon insertion or sex.
Yeah.
And our body sends a signal down and says, oh, actually, this is going to hurt. We don't want that to happen. And that's why our body reacts in that way. So one of the biggest reasons why vaginismus occurs is because of traumatic experiences to our bodies. And whether we can actually remember those traumatic experiences or not differs. Not everyone can remember an experience. Sometimes we block out experiences, but our body always remembers. And that's why we can experience that.
So what happened to you? Because yours wasn't, this is what I was trying to say to my friend's ex-husband. Your story wasn't actually, nothing happened to your vagina.
Well, it did. And interestingly, this goes back to what I just said about blocking out memories and not remembering things. So when I was 9 years old, I actually slipped in a pool.
Yeah.
And one leg went in the pool and the other leg stayed out. And I actually cut my perineum at 9 years old.
Oh, okay.
And I had to go and have surgery to fix it. I had to have stitches.
I've gotten the story wrong. I've told so many people this. I thought nothing actually happened to that part of your body. It was when you went to the hospital, the trauma came from people looking at your body.
No, not directly. It certainly contributed.
Yeah.
But the key trauma for my body was pain from falling into a pool.
Okay.
And then going to the hospital and having so many different, as a 9-year-old, having so many different doctors looking at my vulva and my perineum and looking at that. And then as a 9-year-old again, having to go into surgery, like I had to go under complete general aesthetic. I had to have stitches.
Yeah.
I can still remember trying to, do a wee and it's stinging and hurting.
Yeah.
And so they're all the things that stayed in my body but I actually blocked that memory out. The reason why when I started to experience the symptoms of vaginismus wasn't until I got married. So I was raised in a very religious household where you didn't have sex before marriage. My husband and I, we're still married now. We met in the church. It was all very, we were all very Christian and everything. So we did it all by the book. And then when we went to go and have sex for the first time, I was like...
On your wedding night.
On our wedding night, because that's what you do.
As a good Christian girl.
I'm waiting for this magical night that everyone told me was going to happen, and it fucking hurt.
And that's what everyone says, that it's going to hurt. So did you think it was normal for it to hurt?
I did, actually, because that was my sex education. I had very limited sex education.
Yeah.
And I was told, well, the first time you have sex, it's probably going to hurt because your hymen is going to break. We can get into that separately. And so I was like, okay, all right.
Spoiler alert. Your hymen probably broke when you fell in the pool.
Exactly. Your hymen has nothing to do with sex.
Or when you were bike riding down the road.
Exactly. So that I was like, okay, sure, this is going to hurt first few times maybe. But then it just kept hurting. It kept hurting. It kept hurting. We had zero understanding of foreplay. We didn't know how to get into the space to have sex. We were complete newbies.
Yeah, and that's what happens when you teach abstinence.
Not absent. Absence might help.
Absence.
No, abstinence.
Abstinence.
Correct.
That's what happens when you teach abstinence.
Yeah. The environment that I was brought up in, it was referred to as purity culture.
Purity culture. That sounds...
Exactly.
But... Okay. So this good little Christian girl, she's just had sex for the first time.
Well, I haven't had sex yet. I've tried and I haven't been able to.
Oh, okay. So you could not get the penis inside of you?
No, it was too excruciatingly painful.
Oh, Jazz.
Yeah. And that continued on for our honeymoon. And it really sucked because every time then that my husband would be like, okay, do you want to try again? I'd be like, actually, no, don't touch me. And we're on our honeymoon. We're meant to be having nonstop sex. And it really affected us.
Oh, and imagine all the people that this is happening for all around the world. Because I know that you've told me in cultures like Muslim cultures and where the sex can sometimes be arranged marriage and forced and the woman doesn't want it and they would just be holding on tight.
It's not even in other cultures, it's in Australia.
Yeah, I know that because, guys, Jazz was the first person I had ever photographed that had vaginismus, and since I usually photograph 6 people at once, and I would say maybe 1 every 2 shoots there's someone with vaginismus. It is so common.
It's really common.
It's so common.
I think the stat is about 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 women experience painful sex. And that's the reported statistics. And a lot of the time, as we mentioned, we're taught that pain during sex is actually normal. So there would be a lot of unreported cases, which is really sad.
Oh, my vagina's going...
Yeah. You clench at the thought. And you're like, no,
sex doesn't have to be painful. It should not be painful. Okay, so I think, how long did you go with until you sought help?
6 years.
Oh, 6 years.
Yeah.
Oh.
6 years because of the teaching that I'd experienced under the Christian banner.
Christian daddy.
I felt a lot of shame.
Yeah.
Because I was told that if I was a good girl and I waited until marriage to have sex, then it was going to be amazing and wonderful. And it wasn't. Yeah. And I was like, well, I've done something wrong.
Did you think you'd sinned?
I didn't necessarily think I'd sinned. I was just I felt a lot of shame because I was told that this is something that I should be able to do now that I was married because I was allowed to do it. But I had zero sex education. All I knew was that to have sex, it was penis in vagina. That's it. That's what I knew. I had to learn orgasms from Google. I didn't know what the clitoris was and the pleasure that it could give me. And so for 6 years, we didn't not have intimacy.
Yeah.
But we did push the option of penetrative sex under the rug.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know how to solve it. And my husband was wanting to be really kind and not push me with anything. So he's like, okay, I won't ask about this.
Imagine again all the people that are in relationships with someone. Dan, Jazz's husband, is a gentle soul. He would never hurt you, but imagine
how many people are in this position with someone, unfortunately, that's not like Dan.
When I discovered the term vaginismus, I sort of joined a few Facebook groups because I was looking to know that I wasn't the only person in the world experiencing this. And I was really saddened to read the amount of stories of women that were in relationships with men who were just simply putting up with it because they thought that they owed sex to their husband.
For the man, for the husband.
Yeah. And they would just kind of deal with it and experience the pain, which when it comes to vaginismus, if you're experiencing pain, you have to stop. Yeah. Otherwise, you're just going to keep perpetuating the pain cycle and your brain is just going to keep thinking, oh, this activity equals pain. This is my reaction every time.
Oh, breaks my heart.
Yeah.
Breaks my heart.
It's really sad.
So what was the first person that you went to?
Okay, so we were traveling in New Zealand in 2017 and I was listening to a podcast of a mentor of mine and she mentioned the term vaginismus and what it meant. And I was like, I think this is me. I think this is the thing that I've got that's been going on. And we were traveling very on budget. So like we were in a van driving around. So we didn't have any Wi-Fi. And I was like, I need to get on the internet. And so that was 2017, which sort of spurred me on to look into it a bit further. And then we were still in the church very much back then in 2017. And I actually shared with a couple of women that I was close with in the church environment that that's what I was experiencing. And they encouraged me to go see a doctor. And that's the first step that I ever took to working towards resolving what was going on.
And what did the doctor say? Were they like, yeah, we've heard of this straight away? Because this was 2017, right? So now I think if you went to the doctor, they would probably pick up pretty quickly that this is vaginismus. Not all doctors, but I hope most.
Yeah.
Back then, what did the doctor say?
I was very fortunate that the doctor that I was recommended to go to was a female, and she was quite well known in Newcastle. So I went and saw her and explained my symptoms, and she was very kind, very gentle, like, okay, I think I might know what this is. I'd like to do an exam, like an examination on your body to see what this is. Do you feel comfortable with that? So there was a lot of questions of consent involved.
Beautiful.
So she was really, really good at that in that aspect. And it was during that doctor's appointment that I actually had the memory come back of my accident at 9 years old.
Wow.
Because she was asking questions like, why do you think this would have happened, etc. And then all of a sudden all that memory came back and I got so like emotional, upset because I was like, oh, I had this happen to me.
Because that's a trauma response, right? To block it out.
Yeah, that's right. It is a trauma response, which unfortunately a lot of us are familiar with.
Unfortunately.
And so from seeing her, she was like, I'm pretty confident that this is vaginismus. And she did a little exam and she was very gentle. And then she said, I'm actually going to refer you now to a pelvic floor physiotherapist. And that's where I went to see a pelvic floor physiotherapist. And that's the real critical element of the part of my story is the pelvic floor physiotherapist then did a further examination and reconfirmed that, yes, it is vaginismus. And then we created a treatment plan to help me get through it.
Can you explain to us what the treatment plan looks like?
Yeah, it is going to look different for everybody depending on the severity of what you're experiencing. But, for me, it was starting as simply as being able to insert like my pinky into my vagina, or if I couldn't fit my pinky, it would have been like a Q-tip.
Really?
Yeah.
And then did they try and get you to calm your brain down while the Q-tip was inside of you?
Yeah, exactly that.
Breathing.
So breathing techniques, taking really deep breaths. One of the examples was on insertion, breathe in. And then like once you've been able to insert it, like imagine like ice cream melting so that you can relax your pelvic floor muscles. So because as a result of the vaginismus, I now had really hypertense pelvic floor muscles. And so they weren't in like if the relaxing state is like here, so we've got like a flat line, mine were like above it. And that's not like what your pelvic floor should be. It should just be at this, there's a sort of an average that they measure it by.
Okay. And then each week, did you go up a size in the things you would insert?
Yeah. So we're going to call them dilators.
Dildos?
Yeah.
They look like dildos?
It just looks like a plastic dildo. The ones that I used are actually really not very nice to use. They're just this stiff plastic tube. They do have some better ones now. They do have some silicone ones that are flexible and move a little bit. So
nice.
obviously not obviously we all know, but most of us know that our pelvic canal, like our vaginal canal, isn't straight. It does bend a bit. So sticking just a really straight plastic tube inside of me actually wasn't very helpful.
I'm having flashbacks to the first vibrator I ever tried to bring out, and it was called the O-Touch. I don't know if anyone remembers, but it was hard and it could warm up. And I did a lot of feedback to people and asked for a lot of feedback, and everyone was like, it needs to bend.
And then we have the obsession.
Yeah. And I never grew from there because I just nailed it.
You got it.
But yeah, no one wants a straight, hard.
Yeah. That's right. I mean, that's just what the physio recommended because that's what was available back then.
All the guys listening that have bendy dicks are like,
good for me.
Yeah, it's like how some dicks, you can see on my website, some of the dicks just like go to the right massively or go to the left.
Yeah. And they all have a side.
Yeah. Yeah, they all hang to a certain side. So that's nice.
Exactly. It's a good thing.
It's a good thing. Bendy's good. You're like a bendy schlong dilator.
So the pelvic floor, she introduced dilators and she gave me a series of breathing techniques and things to practice so that I could then move up in the dilator size. So like I mentioned, we started at like a pinky size and then we moved all the way up and the final size was sort of like your average penis size. But that took me about 8-9 months to progress all the way through the dilators because it wasn't as simple as just trying to insert them every week. It was, can I insert them? Now can I insert it and is there no pain? So it's not just like, can I put it inside? It's can I relax? Can I breathe? Can I, not experience any pain with that?
At what stage did you get to be able to fit Dan's penis into you?
Yeah, okay, that's a really good question. So along the journey of the sort of 8 to 9 months where I was working with a pelvic floor physiotherapist, I also needed to work with a sex therapist because not only was my body involved, but my brain was also involved in this as well.
And your brain is the
biggest sex organ. It is. I will say it many times.
Yeah.
So I went and saw a sex therapist. She was really great. Her name is actually Tanya Cohens and she's in Sydney and she still practices up to this day. So she's highly recommended. And when I went to see her, I think I was 28 years old and she gave me the first sex education that I ever had at 27 years old.
Beautiful.
And what she explained to me was actually really critical in my healing process because up until this point, I'd been doing what the pelvic floor physio had said, which was just practice inserting the dilators and using those breathing techniques. But I was just going into it cold turkey. I wasn't warmed up. There was no foreplay involved, nothing.
Oh, yeah.
And Tanya explained the importance of masturbation, which again, the good little he was like...
I want to put in like a after you say masturbation.
Yes. So she was like, you need to masturbate.
Okay, Tanya.
And I was like, what? Because again, I was still in the church. I was starting to slowly think about leaving, but like I hadn't left yet.
Yeah.
And I was still...
Is it a sin to masturbate?
Yes.
It's a sin to masturbate?
Yes.
I want to have a word to God.
Yeah, it's the church has created their set of rules.
And it's don't ever masturbate.
Yeah.
Not a certain age.
No, it's don't ever masturbate.
Jesus Christ.
And interestingly, like when you're in the church and you're kind of in that teenager phase, you kind of get what everyone refers to as like the purity talk. And so guys get told not to masturbate because it's just very normal that guys are going to masturbate, and girls get told not to dress in ways that is going to cause a man to sin.
Oh, I'm speechless.
So problematic.
So problematic. Oh.
Yeah. And so when Tanya was like, okay, let's explore this thought, I mean, I was open to it, but I was like, I have to talk to Dan about this. Like, because you're taught that sex is with your husband.
Yeah.
It's not for on your own.
Yeah, some people think it's cheating if you masturbate.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Yeah. It's not joking. Someone just messaged me asking.
Yeah, you're right. It is.
Her husband thinks it's cheating if she masturbates and she asked me what to do.
Yeah. And that's just, again, like whether you're in the church or not, like socially, the idea of masturbation, if you're in a relationship, can be viewed as a really negative, like there's something wrong with your relationship because you're having to pleasure yourself.
Oh, I think I've been single for too long. So I'm just like, wow, I can't even imagine someone telling me not to masturbate.
Yeah.
So what was your first night masturbating on your own? Do you remember it?
I mean, if I sat and really thought about it, I could probably remember it. But I remember like after going away from that session with Tanya and, you know, sharing with Dan the experience and all the things that we talked about. And then I was like, and so she's also said that I should probably masturbate. And I mean, Ellie, you know Dan, so you would be not very normal of this reaction. He's like, okay. And I was like, oh, okay, this is not as big a deal as it needs to be. He was very chill. Like I was worried that he'd be like, no, you can't do that, you know, like that kind of thing, because that's the education that I'd received. So like then I just went into it and not right then and there.
So then I just stuck in.
Away we went.
Did she talk to you about mutual masturbation?
No, we didn't go that far. We were just trying to understand the concept of solo masturbation.
Okay, sorry.
Wind it back, Ellie. Style it back a little bit. I had to get to the point of, you know, being able to masturbate. So I think Dan was out with mates for the night or something like that. And I was like, okay, the house is to myself. Like
creating a thing.
Yeah, just creating a safe space where I felt like I knew I wasn't going to be interrupted. So, and that was like the first time I'd ever explored my body and what pleasure could do for me. And that was a really critical element in the journey towards, you know, healing my vaginismus, because then I learned what my body needed to be ready to receive sex.
I have a quick question.
Go.
So you never masturbated, but did you ever like rub your pussy up on a corner of a table or a teddy bear nose or a shower head or a bathtub?
No, because I was taught that...
Oh, that's sin.
It's bad.
Okay, sorry.
But I do have...
But did you ever wake up humping a pillow or...?
No.
Never, ever. I do have a few memories, though, of like tight jeans and like feeling the rub. And I was like, oh, this... Like I can feel some sort of good sensation, but I was like, oh, I like shut that down. Yeah, okay.
So I never dabbled.
Okay.
I never went against the grain. I was a really good Christian girl, Ellie. I was really good.
Oh, I wish that, you know, like you could be like get some form of reward for how good you were at being a Christian girl. Unfortunately, you're not.
No, well, not when I started to try having sex.
Yeah.
Which is why I thought it was like, I'd, I don't know, done something wrong, because I was like, well, this should be my reward. I've done the right thing.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's sad.
Yeah. So once we like moved through the masturbation, then I started incorporating self-pleasure into my dilator practice. Yeah. And so one thing that we don't really know and is not part of our sex education is our body as a female identifying person. So I have a vulva and a vaginal canal. My body takes about 30 to 40 minutes to warm up for sex. And that's on average also per woman. Everyone's a little bit different, but that's sort of the average. And what that means is your vaginal canal actually normally lays flat. It's kind of like a tube, and the tube kind of sits flat. But when you start to arouse your body, it actually opens up and kind of inflates a little bit. And then that means you're ready to have something inserted like a penis.
This is why I hate the whole like she's tight or loose, because it's like, well, if I'm open, that means I'm ready and allowing and feel safe and welcoming you into my holy hole.
Your holy hole.
You know, but if I'm tight, vaginismus.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you're not ready.
It's our pelvic floor in general with the like your vaginal canal, like it's all muscle.
Yeah.
It moves, it adjusts. Like there's no stretching and tightening that happens, you know, from sex. It's when you've had the right foreplay and your body is ready, sex is going to be a lot easier. Penetrative sex is going to be a lot easier.
Yeah. Okay. So I remember back in the day you told me that you used to have different creams and stuff when you were trying to explore penetrative sex, but you weren't quite ready and you used to put a cream on to numb.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I didn't use a cream. There is a really popular cream out there called lidocaine, I think it is, or lidocaine. And it numbs basically. It's a numbing cream. And it is very popular for people who have vaginismus to use.
Yeah.
I don't recommend it though, because your body will, even though you might not physically feel the pain, your body is still going to be experiencing pain on a different level. And so it's not that beneficial. What I actually started to use was CBD oil. And that actually had some really powerful effects on helping my muscles to relax and sending more blood into my vulva. And, you know, what Dan and I learned together as we started to explore this as well was just spend a lot more time on foreplay.
Yeah.
So that my body could be really, really ready. And sometimes that even meant having an orgasm before penetrative sex.
Yeah.
So that I was really relaxed.
What's one thing of foreplay that you do?
Well,
Invite me into your sex life. I want the details.
Details.
It's just a minute, I swear.
So, I mean, something that I really enjoy is having my, I mean, I know everyone does, but I particularly enjoy my clitoris being touched.
Yeah.
And especially like when Dan goes down on me. So that's very effective for me.
Yeah.
Just to feel a lot of pleasure and like to stay connected to my body, but like to also just let go and let that pleasure start to like move through my body.
Yeah.
That's a really effective way for me to really start to feel pleasure.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's very basic.
Everyone's visioning Dan licking you right now.
So I saw the doctor, pelvic floor physio, as alongside a sex therapist, and that was in that sort of 8 to 9 month period. And then it was at that point that I was like, okay, I think I might be ready now to try penetrative sex.
Oh, yeah. What was the very first night of sex life like for you?
Yeah. It's a great question. And I know everyone might be thinking that it's going to be like amazing and like wild and fun, but it actually really wasn't. It was very controlled because I was still, you know, this was the first time that I was not in control of something entering my body. So that was a really big part of the process in being able to relax, is knowing that like if I needed to stop because I was feeling pain,
Yes.
that I would be listened to. So we set a lot of ground rules.
Yeah.
And it was like there was a lot of ground rules, and it was just like, okay, we're just going to be trying this, and it might not be like super sexy or romantic, but we just need to try the process of being able to have penetrative sex together. And so a lot of it was, you know, do I need a pillow underneath me to change the angle of my vaginal canal? Okay, if I say stop, like, don't ask me when, just stop. Don't do anything, just wait. Like, I might need to take a few deep breaths and that sort of thing. So that's really what we focused on in the first probably few months.
Yeah.
It really wasn't, it wasn't like okay, now the dilators have done the job and now we're into this wild, wonderful, penetrative sex life. It still took a few months on top of that of working together slowly to be able to get to a point where it felt comfortable.
Yeah.
And sometimes, depending on how I was feeling or even where I was in my cycle as well, I needed to maybe use a dilator first to kind of warm up, and then I could have penetrative sex with Dan. So there was a lot of elements at play.
It's beautiful because it's actually made you have to have these really, really important conversations.
Yeah, because of this, our communication level has gotten really good when it comes to sex and our needs and that sort of thing. And also, like, again, with the religious background, we're taught that our partner is the one that gives us pleasure.
Yeah.
But because there was, you know, for such a period of time where I needed time to myself, or I didn't want to receive pleasure, it meant that we needed to understand that we're responsible for our own pleasure. So Dan was responsible for his own pleasure. I'm responsible for my own pleasure. And then we get to have pleasure together. And they're all the elements that are in our relationship.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. What's your thoughts on if Dan masturbated on his own when you weren't home?
Go for it.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
It's his body.
Yeah.
And his body, like my body, has these aspects to it that can give me pleasure. So I don't have a problem with it at all.
Okay, because lots of people write to me and say they've caught their partner watching porn before work down in the man's cave.
Well, I mean, if you're going to talk about porn, you've got to talk about the elements of your relationship. So what are the boundaries in your relationship? Maybe you see porn as cheating, but other people don't see porn as cheating.
Do you?
No.
No. Yeah.
No, we've had conversations where, you know, we're like, where do we stand on this? Like, what's our definition of that? You know, Or, I mean, something that we prefer to do is have videos of each other. And like, that's what we can use as opposed to like jumping on the internet and trying to find something. And so like that became a fun aspect of our relationship too, is like if we were having our own masturbation sessions, like filming and taking videos and stuff to share, because then there's still some pleasure involved together, but there's no pressure that we have to do it together.
Yeah, nice. You little porn star, you. Who would have thought? She's a little porn star.
The good little Christian girl.
I did not realise I had a porn star working for me for 2 years.
Anything's possible, Ellie.
So, yeah, if anyone's listening at home, can they come to you to get lessons on how to?
No. No. I'm not a professional.
But you did go down the world of then becoming a coach, because was it your vaginismus that led you into becoming a coach?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
One of the biggest parts of the vaginismus journey was breaking down all these preconceived ideas that had been given to me about pleasure, about sex, about relationships. And I found personally a lot of freedom in stepping away from old beliefs that I'd been raised in, which also involved stepping away from religion and Christianity and the church. And that was a huge part of the journey as well. And because of that, I learned that, you know, like I had autonomy of my body and I could dress the way that I wanted to, and I wasn't responsible for a man and how he looked at me. And these are all the things that were ingrained into my belief system that I rewired. And then because I jumped online and I started sharing my story, I realized how many other women had experienced purity culture and thus also experienced painful sex because of that. I realized
shame that they were put.
That's right. Yeah. Because of the shame that had been put on them, I was like, well, I want to help others experience the same freedom and amazing pleasure and relationship that I've experienced. And also through the lens of like, I feel very fortunate that Dan was on a very similar journey of like deconstructing his own religious ideas and faith at the same time. Whereas my only example that I had seen was that the only answer to this was that we would divorce and go our separate ways. Oh. And that made me really sad because I didn't want to do that. Like I really loved Dan.
Yeah, I loved Dan.
And so I wanted to show that like you can still have a really healthy marriage and explore all these things, because I mean we got married when we were 21 years old. We were babies.
Yeah.
We hadn't even had a chance to explore the world, let alone ourselves and our own dreams and desires.
Yeah.
But we were, I don't know, just the way that we are, but we were able to create space for each other to be able to go on those journeys. And I joke now that like Dan's been married to like 5 different women in the duration of our marriage because of all the things that I've learned and all the ideas and the courses that I've done and all that sort of stuff. It's like that's just kind of part of it when you get married so young or you enter into a long-term relationship so young. It's bound to happen that you're going to be a different person in 10 years' time.
Yeah. And I love it because Dan's just in the background when we're doing all these things, talking about, because we do have conversations that are probably quite shocking, and he just doesn't blink an eye.
No, he just sits there. Yep, exactly. So, and that's why I got into the coaching, and I'm now studying counselling to be a therapist in the sex and sexuality space, because I really want to support women on these really pivotal moments of their life and encourage them to own their own pleasure and not also have to endure pain like I endured.
So Dan's amazing. We know this. Yeah. But what about for you guys listening that don't have a supportive partner or don't have a partner and that are looking at you thinking, I'm not going to get there? Do you have any advice for them to break free from the painful sex?
That's a really good question. And like I mentioned during the podcast, I do feel very fortunate that Dan is my partner and he's had a lot of patience on the journey. But I've also seen that sometimes there aren't partners out there who are patient and they don't want to wait. If you are experiencing pain, I do really encourage you to go and seek some support around it. So whether that's seeing a doctor first or just going immediately to see a pelvic floor physiotherapist, they're 2 really great places to start. And start having conversations with your partner, and maybe You might need to see a couples counsellor together where you can have a space where you can talk about this and someone is sort of mediating the conversation. I mean, unfortunately, though, if your partner like isn't willing to be flexible and be patient in this journey that you're on, then maybe the answer is that you're going to go separate ways. Whether you want that or not, I don't know, but explore it as an option, but have honest conversations with your partner. Like, be really honest about where you're at and what you're feeling and how you maybe can navigate it together, that you're not trying to leave him behind and you're trying to do something by yourself, but you're trying to solve something that's going on with yourself. But it does involve them as well, your partner, because, you know, whether they're a male partner or a female partner, you know, if you're wanting to incorporate some sort of penetrative sex in your sex life, they need to support you along the way. And so, you know, being able to listen to the ground rules for the first time that you may be trying something and having them, you know, respect your stop there and no, don't do it like that. They're all really important aspects. So it's just about opening up the communication lens in the relationship to start to navigate that. And then there's your part of the journey as well, which is about like exploring pleasure and your own body and connecting to your body, which is why it's so great to have a big movement like Ellie's, which is about being comfortable in your skin. So getting comfortable with who you are, because if you're not comfortable in your body, that can also affect how relaxed you're going to feel during sexual experiences and what you're doing.
Well, I know that because I didn't orgasm until I was 28 because I wasn't comfortable with my vagina and my vulva.
Exactly.
So also, if you think that you could possibly have vaginismus, I have many groups on Comfortable in My Skin's Instagram, so you can reach out and speak to people that have gone through it. We've got a whole support network. Jazz is in one or two of the groups. Yep. There's lots of people that have been through it and come out the other side. So there's people that can be your support network.
Yeah, you're not alone in this, which is really important to understand, is you're not the only person that is experiencing pain during sex. So don't let it dictate and rule how your pleasure is. Reach out, find support, because there is amazing support out there now. Maybe 10 years ago it wasn't so great, but now it's actually really amazing. So there's a lot of options out there for you.
Jazz.
Yes.
Did you bring a meme?
Well, I'm not going to lie. I did not bring a meme, but I quickly scrolled before we started our episode. And I'm going to do 2 memes.
I'm a bit awkward because this is becoming a pattern where I'm telling people in the moment that they have to bring a meme, and I just expect that they know.
You just expect that everyone has a favorite meme just like you do.
But, you know, you listen to my podcast every week, so you should know.
I did know that I should have a meme. I just forgot, okay?
Okay.
I'm a mum, all right? And I'm pregnant. Like, there's a lot of other priorities on my plate. But anyway, I've got 2 now for you.
Okay, good.
Okay, so
we overachieves all the time.
Yes, exactly. In true admin angel style.
I've gone above and beyond.
So I expect extra ticks, please.
I'll send you and spank you.
Some praise, please, would be great. Okay.
Good admin.
All right, this is a little, I guess, scene. So girl says, do you have any wild fantasies? I say, yeah, quitting my job. Girl says, no, I mean any like risque fantasies. Me says, okay, quitting my job without having anything else lined up.
Oh,
in this economy, we wouldn't dare. Okay, and then the other one here, which I'm sure a lot of people will relate to. One thing about adulthood that I was not prepared for was how many cardboard boxes I'd have to break down and throw away all the time. And Ellie, can you relate?
Oh, it's like you planned that one in advance for me, because I, as a shop holder, have fucking loads of cardboard boxes. My mum was whinging yesterday because she's holding all my stock at the moment, and she was just like, the whole house is filled with cardboard boxes.
Yeah. And I know that feeling because my house too was once filled with cardboard boxes.
I'm pulling my skin stock. Used to live at Jasmine's house. There's actually probably a lot of people listening that are like, Ellie, I live on a bus, for those who don't know, and I share my stock around
Everyone gets the love.
with my best, closest people. They all get a turn of having. Even Ellie Mayer, my best friend from Sydney, I once got a video from her mother who was staying with her carrying 12 boxes of Obsessions. They are so heavy.
Yeah.
And she was like, look what you've made Kerry do. I was like, God, I'm going to have to take Kerry out for lunch. So sorry to everyone that's had a turn. My sister, she's got that many boxes.
Yep. We all love a cardboard box.
Do you know what? You also all love my sex toys. So
We do.
they have to be kept somewhere.
And we will keep them in our houses for you, Ellie. We will keep doing it just for you.
Anyone listening, go and buy something right now to clean my parents. The obsession. Butt plugs.
Anything.
Yeah, just anything. So I can have a job still. Love you guys.
Oh, thanks, Ellie.
Thanks for coming on.
No worries. My pleasure.
Pleasure. Bye. So I now want everyone to repeat after me. I am unique. I am worthy of pleasure. My body is mine. I am comfortable in my skin. And remember that I love you.